Hello friends, I am glad to see you again. Today I'm going to tell you about a housing association that thinks it can manage my pool. I was still dragging my suitcase through the kitchen, dreaming of a shower and a cup of decent coffee, when the racket yanked me to the sliding glass doors. There, half submerged and doing something between a dog paddle and interpretive dance, was my next-door neighbor Todd. Yes, the same Todd who once borrowed my hedge trimmer, kept it for 6 months, and returned it with gum stuck to the blade guard. I stood frozen for a breath, trying to process what my eyes were feeding my jet-lagged brain. Todd's fluorescent swim trunks glowed like a caution sign against the cobalt water. To complete the picture, a cooler floated beside him, one of those floating bar contraptions with cup holders bobbing around like dopey satellite dishes. To my left, the gate that separated my yard from the community walking path stood wide open. The keypad lock dangled uselessly, the hinge pins clearly pulled. I slid the door open. "Todd, what on earth are you doing?" He grinned and raised a foam koozie. "Pool party, man. Your homeowners association gave me the yay. Said your place was community access while you were AWOL." He sloshed a little beer over the edge of the cup as though baptizing my grass. "AWOL? I was on assignment in another city, and this pool is on my deed, not some communal splash pad." My voice was a low rumble, half from exhaustion, half an attempt to keep from detonating. He shrugged the kind of shrug beloved by toddlers and internet scammers. "HOA's rules, bro. Article 12, section, something. They even emailed me a temporary gate code. Said if a private amenity goes unattended for 30 days, the board can step in for safety. They're skewed your pool from neglect." Neglect? Before I left, I'd installed a brand new portable safety cover, marine-grade vinyl stretched taut across an aluminum frame. Not just a tarp. The thing latched under the coping like a bank vault. Every 7 days, my friend Reagan came by, unlocked the cover, ran the filter, and texted me time-stamped photos. The water had been clearer than bottled spring. Neglect? My foot. Todd backstroked away, humming again. My jaw twitched. I spotted a cluster of lawn chairs, chairs I'd never owned, arrayed on the deck like seats at a VIP cabana. A damp towel embroidered with "Property of Sunrise Wellness and Spa" lay draped over a chaise. I inhaled through my nose, exhaled slowly, and pulled out my phone. A quick scroll located an email from the HOA dated 2 weeks earlier. "Dear homeowner, as per visual inspection, your swimming pool appears unsanitary due to visible debris. Photo attached. Per our bylaws, failure to remedy within 72 hours grants the association authority to enter, clean, and manage the amenity until standards are restored." Attached was a grainy zoom lens snapshot. The pool cover was off, revealing a handful of wilting bougainvillea petals floating on the surface. Petals that must have landed during Reagan's last maintenance visit. Nothing close to unsanitary. And the timestamp proved the picture predated Reagan's weekly cleaning by 15 minutes. "Breathe," I reminded myself. "Anger needs direction." I texted Reagan. "Heads up, Todd's skinny dipping in my yard." Okay, not skinny. No mercy for that mental image. Then I dialed my attorney friend Blake, a land use wizard, a man who collected HOA horror stories like baseball cards. Blake answered on the second ring. "Back in town already. I beat the red eye by an hour and found Hurricane Todd in my pool. Says the HOA granted him squatters' swimming rights." Blake groaned sympathy. "Did they cite Article 12, Section 8? That clause is famous in board overreach circles." "Something like that. I forwarded you the email. Picture's fishy." I heard keyboard clicks. "Got it. Well, first, that section applies only if there's evidence of imminent hazard. Green water, algae blooms, broken fencing. A few petals don't cut it. Second, even then, the association can hire a certified pool service, charge you reasonable costs, and lock up afterward. They can't invite Todd or the rest of the peanut gallery for Margarita Mondays. So what's our play? I'll draft a cease and desist by end of day. You'll want photo evidence, witness statements, maybe a water sample to show it was crystal clear. Also, check whether they damaged the gate lock. That's property destruction." I glanced at the hardware. Sure enough, the pins lay in the grass like silver worms. "Damage documented." Blake continued. "Meanwhile, get him out before he slips and sues you." I returned to the door, voice raised. "Todd, you need to leave now. Lawyers will be involved." He dunked under, popped up laughing. "Relax, buddy. They said you were gone a whole month. I planned a neighborhood mixer tonight. Got a taco truck scheduled." A taco truck on my driveway, over my dead body. From the porch light switch, I flicked on the pool's high-pressure filtration jets. the kind that create a modest current. Todd sputtered as a torrent pushed his raft bar into the deep end. "Hey! Equipment malfunction!" he yelped. "Operator malfunction," I muttered. He dog-paddled to the side and hauled himself out, water cascading off his neon shorts. The cooler clanged against the coping before capsizing. While Todd scrambled for flip-flops, I snapped dozens of photos. Him trespassing, the broken lock, unfamiliar chairs. Every click felt cathartic. He noticed, scowled, and mumbled something about just following board orders as he slunk toward the gate, scooping up beer cans like contraband. Only after the gate clanged shut did the adrenaline ebb. My pool looked like a frat house had dropped in. Foam noodles everywhere. A volleyball net strung across the shallow end. The water filter hummed indignantly beneath floating tortilla chip crumbs. I marched to the garage for supplies, my mind already spinning strategy webs. This wasn't just about a trespasser or a rogue board. It was about property rights, about an organization forgetting its limits, about principle. But there was another layer too, one that woke a different kind of suspicion. How had the HOA known I'd be out exactly 30 days? My travel dates weren't public. The only person on the board with whom I'd ever chatted was Vice President Penelope, a cordial retiree who once complimented my holiday lights. Yet the president, Darla, rumored to treat power like a hobby, had apparently stalked my calendar. Questions piled like loose deck chairs. Who pulled the cover off in the first place? Who decided a couple petals equaled a biohazard? Who gave Todd a gate code when he wasn't even on the pool committee? By the time I finished gathering evidence, closing the jets, skimming the beer foam, photographing everything, Reagan rolled up the driveway. She hopped out, ponytail whipping. "I came as soon as I got your text. What happened?" I filled her in. She whistled softly. "That's some gall. I've kept this pool pristine. They're lying through their braces." We checked the filter basket. Someone had crammed it with wet napkins, probably to fake a cleaning spree. Evidence baggie number 2. Reagan suggested we pull security cam footage from my Ring doorbell and the side yard motion sensor. Those cameras saved to the cloud and remote backups meant nothing was lost. While she downloaded clips, my phone pinged with a neighborhood group chat message, one I usually muted. "Pool party tonight at Jason's house, 6 p.m. HOA board approved. Bring floaties." The sender? Darla, the president. Jason, that would be me. My thumbs flew. "Event canceled. Trespassers will be prosecuted." I pressed send. A beat later, Darla responded, "Jason, your amenity is under association management for sanitation." This was communicated. She attached the same grainy bougainvillea photo. The audacity almost made me laugh. I saved a screenshot, then typed, "Retraction demanded. You are reminded that forced common area conversion of deeded property without owner consent violates Civil Code Section 4751 and state trespass statutes. Council engaged. Cease unauthorized entry." The chat fell silent. A moment later, Todd left the group entirely. Good. Reagan's eyes glittered. "I hope you let me testify. I saw Todd climb the fence last week while I was brushing leaves." "You kidding? You'll be star witness," Blake texted back. "Draft sent, print, tape a copy to the gate, mail certified to the board. If they show up tonight, call police for trespass." It was on. I printed the letter, bold header and all, and laminated a yard-size copy to stake by the gate. Not exactly subtle, but subtlety had drowned with Todd's cooler. Next, I replaced the lock with a heavy-duty smart padlock, audit log included. Anyone punching wrong codes 3 times would trigger a silent alert on my phone. Then I left the cover off deliberately. Let them try photographing debris now. The water sparkled like a gemstone. A few hours later, twilight painted the sky apricot when Reagan spotted headlights pausing outside my property. 2 SUVs. One I recognized, Darla's silver crossover. The other, unknown. They idled at the curb as if reconsidering their life choices under the glare of my newly installed motion floodlights. After a tense minute, both vehicles made a slow U-turn and disappeared down the hill. Strike one for them, I thought, flipping through Blake's cease and desist for the 3rd time. It felt good to imagine Darla's face when she realized this homeowner wouldn't roll over. But the board wasn't the only opponent. Todd remained an X factor, his bruised ego itching. Sure enough, the next morning my doorbell rang at 7:45. Bleary-eyed, I opened to find Todd on the porch, hair dripping, towel slung over his shoulder. "Look, man," he began, voice low. "The board told me to use your pool. They said you'd ignored multiple warnings. They even said I'd get a small stipend to monitor the place." He avoided eye contact. "A stipend? They paid you?" Well, prepaid gift cards, $50 so far. He swallowed. I exhaled. Todd, you're trespassing every time you step on my property. The board has zero authority to sign you in like a guest pass. If they misrepresented that, you might be on the hook too. Civil trespass, maybe even criminal if you won't leave. His shoulders sagged. I didn't know, I feel kinda used. Then help me fix it. I gestured inside. He hesitated, then stepped back. I gotta think, he said, retreating across my lawn and stumbling over a sprinkler head. Later that day, Blake phoned with news. Board ignored the cease and desist. They replied claiming a health emergency still exists and they'll continue oversight until the next monthly meeting. They also attached an invoice, $895 cleaning fee plus $300 amenity management labor to be added to your next assessment. My laugh sounded hollow. They want me to pay them for letting Todd dog paddle? Indeed. And they've scheduled a violation hearing for you this Friday morning. They might try to fine and put a lien. I'll be there with documentation. Can we demand open hearing? You can insist on due process, but they'll try a closed session. Bring a court reporter if you can. Forces transparency. Reagan volunteered to attend, witness list ready. Todd surprisingly texted agreeing to testify, claiming he felt duped. I didn't fully trust him, but every bit helped. The next 3 days were a blur of prep. Printing maintenance logs, draining the cooler water from the filter housing for lab analysis, chlorine levels perfect, pulling camera clips of Darla opening the gate with bolt cutters, clear as day under the security flood. Blake assembled a binder thick enough to prop open a door. Friday dawned crisp. The association clubhouse sat at the cul-de-sac center like a faux colonial courthouse, columns and all. Inside, folding tables formed a makeshift bench. Board members perched at one end, expressions carved from granite. Darla presided, wearing a blazer too severe for 90-degree heat. Penelope offered a tentative smile when I entered, but Darla's eyes narrowed. Blake set the binder on the table with a thud. A hired stenographer clicked her machine, keys sounding like distant hail. Todd slipped into a back row, hat pulled low. Darla cleared her throat. We convene regarding violation notice 2025A12. Unsanitary pool conditions and non-compliance with remedial access order. She slid a copy of the Bougainvillea photo down the table. Evidence is before you. Blake stood. We stipulate the photograph. We dispute its characterization. We will present contrary evidence and assert board misconduct, including unlawful entry, property damage, and negligence. For the next hour, Blake carved their narrative apart. Reagan testified first. Maintenance logs, timestamped texts, her observation of the pool's clarity. Then came camera footage. Darla and board treasurer Milo at 9:04 a.m., bolt cutters in hand. Darla's jaw clenched as the video played on the projector, her silhouette unmistakable. When Todd was called, he shuffled forward. Under oath, he confirmed Darla told him the pool had been abandoned, offered him a monitoring stipend, and provided the gate code. He added that during one visit, he saw Darla instruct a teenage volunteer to scatter extra flower petals near the steps to justify the cleanup photo. Gasps rippled through the room. Penelope visibly paled. She whispered to the secretary, who began scribbling furiously. Blake finished with the legal trump card. California Civil Code Section 4525, similar in most states, prohibits an association from seizing exclusive use common area without owner vote or court order. My client's deeded pool is exclusive use. The board exceeded authority. We demand immediate cessation, rescission of the invoice, replacement of damaged lock, and reimbursement for forensic testing. Furthermore, we reserve the right to pursue civil damages. Silence. Darla opened her mouth, closed it. Finally, the board attorney, a man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, requested a recess. They huddled behind a partition for 20 nerve-grinding minutes. When they returned, Penelope spoke, voice shaky but clear. The board, by majority vote, hereby rescinds violation 2025A12, voids the invoice and apologizes for any distress. We will reimburse documented damages. Darla slumped, lips a flat line, but Blake wasn't done. One more matter. My client seeks removal of any director found engaging in willful misconduct per Bylaw Article 7, Section 5. We petition for a special election. Penelope nodded. Noted, we will agendize that at the earliest. After adjournment, Darla exited wordlessly, eyes avoiding mine. Todd shuffled up. I'm sorry, man. Didn't know they faked pictures. Glad you told the truth, I said, extending a hand. He shook it, sheepish. No hard feelings, but next time ask before swimming. Yeah, lesson learned, he sighed. As Blake and I left the clubhouse, a breeze rustled the shade trees, scattering bougainvillea petals across the walkway. Stray, harmless, ordinary. I laughed at the irony, feeling the knot in my stomach finally unwind. Back home, I relatched the pool cover, double-checked the new lock, and sank into a deck chair with a cold lemonade. The water glittered innocent under the sun, exactly as I'd left it a month ago. My property, my rules. Lesson for the board: don't mistake absence for surrender. The weekend after the hearing, my phone ping-ponged with texts from neighbors who'd caught wind of the showdown. Word travels faster than a riding mower on discount fertilizer, especially when it involves somebody's sacred summer sanctuary. By Sunday afternoon, I'd fielded a dozen variations of, "Wait, they tried to turn your pool into a neighborhood water park," and "I always thought Darla was power tripping, but this is next level." The avalanche of sympathy gave me an idea. If folks were riled up now, maybe they'd back a formal recall. Under our bylaws, replacing a director required a petition signed by 33% of homeowners. 28 signatures in our little enclave of 84 lots seemed doable. I drafted a one-page summary, factual timeline, photos, snippets of the cease and desist, Todd's stipend confession highlighted like a neon arrow. No ranting, no name-calling, just receipts. Reagan helped knock on doors that evening while the sun slipped behind the cotton candy clouds. Some neighbors answered in beachwear, fresh from their own inflatable backyard pools, shaking their heads in disbelief as we explained the bolt cutter video. Others had never cared much about HOA politics, but bristled at the thought of a board grazing on private property like uninvited goats. By nightfall, we'd collected 17 signatures, more than halfway. Todd even joined, sheepish but determined, carting a clipboard up driveways like a door-to-door salesman of repentance. "I owe Jason big time," he told one household, "and nobody else deserves this nonsense either." Watching him own his mistake felt oddly satisfying. Monday morning, I emailed the board a written demand for inspection of association financial records, allowed under Civil Code Section 5200, a homeowner's right, inconvenient for anyone hiding funny money. They had 3 business days to respond. Predictably, Darla replied with lawyerly vagueness, "We will coordinate an appointment pending council review." Translation: stall and hope the peasants lose interest. They underestimated our tenacity. Tuesday evening, the recall petition hit the magic number. Reagan and I photocopied the pages, stapled the bundle like a college term paper, and delivered it via certified mail and, just for flair, by sliding a duplicate under Darla's front door. According to bylaws, that triggered a special election within 35 days. The next twist dropped Thursday when Penelope called. Her voice quavered like wind through a screen. "Jason, I thought you should know. I'm resigning from the board effective immediately. I can't stand behind this malarkey." She confessed she'd discovered Darla had authorized a $4,200 common area beautification payment to Darla's cousin's landscaping company. The work? A lavish koi pond, installed exclusively in Darla's side yard 6 months earlier. Penelope emailed me the invoice. The description read, "Community Zen water feature adjacent to lot perimeter for shared enjoyment." Shared, sure, if you were invited past Darla's 6-foot privacy fence. I forwarded the invoice to Blake. He whistled. "That's straight-up embezzlement territory if funds weren't approved by membership vote. We can add breach of fiduciary duty to the complaint." He began drafting a demand letter to the association's insurance carrier. Their directors and officers policy might soon be writing checks. Meanwhile, the remaining board, now just Darla, Treasurer Milo, and Secretary Giselle, scrambled. They announced an emergency rule limiting door-to-door solicitation, obviously aimed at our recall volunteers. Nice try. Petitions are explicitly exempt under state statute. Then an email blast accused certain residents of spreading defamatory rumors. That backfired. Even fence-sitters dislike being scolded. The momentum snowballed. A local reporter who covered consumer rights stories pinged me after seeing social media chatter. I agreed to speak on background. Public sunlight has a way of disinfecting. The piece ran online under the headline, "Homeowners Cry Foul Overpool Coup." Names of individuals were omitted, but the facts were unmistakable. Comments exploded with readers recounting their own HOA war stories. That Saturday, I found a note taped to my mailbox. "Pool owner, you will pay for slander." No signature, printed in block capitals. I snapped a photo, Saved it. The next morning, my sprinkler control panel was dead. Wires clipped. I called the sheriff's non-emergency line and filed a vandalism report. A deputy took statements and suggested installing another camera angle. Already on it. Amazon had delivered 2 additional motion cams the day before. Just after sunset, those cams paid off. Footage captured Milo skulking along my fence line, hood pulled up. He crouched, fiddled at the breaker box, then sprinted away when a sensor light popped on. Clear view of his face. Blake's laughter over the phone sounded almost musical when he saw the clip. "They're stacking violations faster than a Vegas buffet plate," he said. Blake sent the video to the board's attorney with a civil harassment warning and carbon copied the insurance carrier. Less than 24 hours later, that carrier's adjuster called to schedule interviews. Apparently, they'd read enough to worry about coverage exposure. 2 weeks before the special election, Darla attempted a final Hail Mary. A glossy flyer arrived in everyone's mailbox. "Save our HOA from hostile takeover." It painted me as an absentee owner who wanted to break community harmony with frivolous lawsuits. My face, lifted from a LinkedIn headshot, was splashed across the front, eyes accidentally cropped, so I looked sleep-deprived and villainous. She quoted out-of-context snippets from Blake's cease and desist, claiming I planned to bankrupt the HOA. It backfired spectacularly. Neighbors recognized the fear-mongering tone. One even mocked up a parody meme, replacing my image with a raccoon in sunglasses. Humor won hearts faster than any rebuttal I could craft. Election day landed on a cloudless Saturday. The association clubhouse buzzed like a beehive. Folding booths lined the foyer, manned by a third-party inspector we'd insisted upon. Ballots were simple. Remove Director Darla, yes, no. Same for Milo and Giselle, with blank lines for replacements. I saw Todd drop his slip in the locked box, then nod awkwardly in my direction. Progress. At noon, counting began under watchful homeowner eyes. Results posted an hour later on a corkboard. Darla recalled 61, 3. Milo recalled 58, 6. Giselle recalled 59, 5. The replacements, Penelope returned as president by write-in tidal wave. A retired firefighter named Vince took treasurer, and to everyone's surprise, Reagan won secretary. Darla stormed out before the last vote was tallied, muttering about litigious vultures. Milo scurried behind her. Giselle lingered long enough to apologize to several attendees, tears glistening, then departed quietly. First order of business for the new board: vote to reimburse my documented costs. Gate repair, sprinkler wiring, forensic water test, legal fees up to the insurance deductible. Second order: authorize an independent audit of the past 2 fiscal years. Cheers filled the room. I thought the saga was winding down until a week later when I received a certified envelope. Darla, through a new attorney, threatened a defamation lawsuit against me personally. She alleged I'd published false statements to media, causing her emotional distress and reputational injury. Blake nearly spat coffee. "Truth is an absolute defense," he chuckled. "And we have receipts thicker than a Sunday paper." Rather than engage in protracted litigation, we filed an anti-SLAPP motion. State statutes protect speech on matters of public concern. Darla would have to prove likelihood of success or owe my attorney fees. Within a month, the court granted our motion. Darla now owed nearly $12,000 in legal costs. Rumor said she tried to crowdfund but netted only $83, mostly from distant relatives feeling obligated. Spring rolled into early summer. The audit uncovered another $9,700 in dubious consultant fees paid to a shell company tied to Milo. The board referred everything to the county district attorney's fraud unit. No charges yet, but an investigator called me for background. They don't dial homeowners unless smoke hints at fire. Todd, aiming to rebuild goodwill, organized a neighborhood pool safety workshop. He hired a certified instructor to teach CPR and handed out waterproof phone pouches with little apology cards tucked inside. I hosted the class in my backyard, under my rules, of course. Watching toddlers practice kicking with pool noodles felt like a cosmic reset button. Todd even repaired the section of lawn he'd trampled during his uninvited swims, reseeding and babying the grass until it matched the rest of the emerald carpet. One unusually warm Thursday, Penelope and Reagan stopped by with lemonade and paperwork, a proposed amendment to strike the infamous Article 12, Section 8 entirely, replacing it with a clear protocol requiring 2/3 homeowner approval for any entry onto exclusive use property. even in emergencies. They asked if I'd co-sponsor. I signed so fast the ink hadn't dried before Reagan whisked copies to the notary. The amendment passed in August by overwhelming vote. When the final tally dinged into my inbox, I leaned back, exhaled, and realized something startling. I actually trusted the association again. Not because power structures changed, those can always mutate, but because vigilance, transparency, and community engagement had realigned them. A few evenings later, I invited neighbors over for an official, fully permitted pool party. The first since the drama. String lights crisscrossed the yard, burgers sizzled on the grill, jazz drifted from a Bluetooth speaker. Before folks arrived, I unlocked the safety cover and folded it back with a quiet thunk, revealing calm turquoise water. Todd was the first guest through the gate. He stopped, gaze flicking to me, then to the pool. "Mind if I take the inaugural dip?" He lifted a brand new leaf skimmer he'd brought as a hostess gift. I grinned. "Be my guest, just remember, consent is cool." He snapped a mock salute and cannonballed into my pool, flinging water over the string-lit deck while neighbors whooped from the driveway. I watched the ripples settle, marveling that the same water once hosted bolt cutters, bogus fines, and sleepless nights. Now it just shimmered, calm and forgiving. The party drifted past dusk. Reagan and Penelope pondered a kayak club. Vince pitched next year's budget to Blake, and the air felt busy, but never invasive. Close to midnight, after the last cooler was drained, I latched the gate. Crickets, distant traffic, a warm breeze. When I locked the smart padlock, its green light felt less like a warning and more like a handshake. Privacy affirmed, community respected. Fall arrived crisp and quiet. No rogue emails, no trespassers, no invoices. Peace lasted until a certified letter from the district attorney thudded onto my mat. Darla and Milo were indicted for draining HOA funds, falsifying records, and vandalizing my sprinkler box. The DA wanted me as a witness. Vindication bloomed like late-season asters. Court smelled of lemon polish. Darla's knee jiggled, Milo shrank inside his collar. I testified about doctored pool photos, the taco truck invite, the koi pond Darla bought with HOA money. 2 days later, they pled out. Restitution, 5 years probation, 250 service hours, and a lifetime HOA board ban. Reporters asked for comment. I kept it short. Property rights matter. Good governance matters more. The new board proved it. Vince shredded bloated contracts and renegotiated trash pickup, trimming dues by $40 a month. Reagan digitized records and posted agendas online, transparent and revolutionary. Her Neighbors First committee solved Mrs. Elder's barking dog saga with training classes instead of fines. Todd and I, once wary, became friends. He helped mount solar heaters, joking the only issue left to litigate was whose turn to buy pizza. Winter swapped pool days for fire pit nights. Penelope's amendment requiring audits every third year, trust but verify, passed in a landslide. Just before New Year's, restitution arrived. $14,732.86, wiping out my legal bills. Spring brought a for sale sign in Darla's yard. She was headed east for a fresh start. Relief, not triumph. Our block party returned to the common green. Kids bounced in an inflatable castle. Adults demolished Vince's brisket, and Reagan's bylaw trivia crowned a champ. My once infamous floating cooler, repainted turquoise, chilled the lemonade. First audit win. Vince found an unneeded easement on my fence. The board had it abandoned, nudging property values upward. Thank you cards and a lethal pecan pie hit my porch. Monthly restitution now funds a scholarship for teens who volunteer. The first awardee, Elias, headed to trade school for electrical work. Poetic justice after the clipped wires. Todd launched a Saturday pool patrol that checks gates and teaches water testing. Motto, ask before you splash. Homeowners from other counties called for strategy. My advice, document, know your bylaws, rally neighbors, and keep anger behind facts. By midsummer, a butterfly garden bloomed in a neglected swale. I built a sky blue bench, Todd painted monarch wings, and kids chased viceroys under shade tents. The street that once squabbled over water now cultivated flowers. The past still surfaced. New residents whispered, "Did someone really try to seize your pool?" I'd laugh, "Yep, they mistook absence for vacancy." Then I'd change the subject. The present was better. Late August, Darla sought early probation termination after finishing service and paying every dime. We didn't oppose. Mercy costs less than grudges. In court, she apologized, promising to respect boundaries, literal and figurative. I accepted, Closure feels lighter than resentment. That evening, cicadas droned while sunset burned the horizon. I unlocked my gate, folded back the cover, and trailed a hand through warm water. Memories of bolt cutters and bogus invoices drifted away on gentle waves. Overhead, stars winked on. In the butterfly garden, solar lanterns glowed. Somewhere down the block, Todd's laugh rose over a televised game. My phone pinged a calm, "Gate secure." Not everything turned rosy overnight. We still argued over lawn heights and mailbox paint, but disagreements now ended in calm discussion instead of threats. Monthly board meetings became mini town halls. Neighbors clutching coffee, voting on rain barrel rebates, bulk internet discounts, and a holiday lighting contest judged by kids. Reagan's online archive became a community rabbit hole. Residents finally read the covenants they'd signed and, surprise, found most rules sensible when explained plainly. Transparency dissolved suspicion before it sprouted. I noticed my vigilance had widened into genuine connection. I now chatted with retirees on dawn walks, teens practicing kickflips, and new parents pacing with strollers, faces I'd once waved at vaguely. The pool fiasco forged community the way storms carve riverbeds. Messy, dramatic, but leaving channels where water can finally move freely. I replaced the cover, latched it with a soft click, and headed inside. Property lines had become respect lines. Rules had become tools. Neighbors had become allies. Not bad for a saga sparked by one unsolicited cannonball. The house felt lighter, and the story, at last, felt shelved. Friends, thank you. See you soon.